What I've got a bit of a problem with this camera, unfortunately. The rubber has gone on the bottom of the tripod mount, so the whole thing is beginning to keep sliding. So what I'm going to do is try to put, that's it, one of my business cards underneath. And what are we going to show you today in the Nutty Aspie pad? And I went out on eBay and I bought a Polaroid 600 business edition, and I didn't bother to read the manual, and I bought a load of this expensive Impossible film at £2 a show. Wasted most of them because I didn't bother to read the manual, and I wasn't very careful with it anyway, but I did get something out of it. That's how it all opens up. This is the Polaroid from the Noctine Octies, and I'm sorry if the picture's a bit dark, but it is a very, very dark flat here. Even with lights on, it's still dark. So that's the Polaroid camera, and I got the camera from a shop. I didn't want to get it without knowing it worked. I wasn't going to spend a lot of money on a paperweight. It came with the box, the original manual, and believe it or not, guarantee card. And it still had the polystyrene in the box. So what I was going to do is look through some of the pictures that I've done and what I actually did wrong. I've taken 16 pictures. I bought 3 packs. I don't know what I bought that many for. At £15 a pack, must have been crazy. But you know, you're going to make sometimes an error to be able to know what you're doing, unfortunately. And so I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't get quite what I wanted. But this one is one I took in the graveyard, and there was a finger mark on it, unfortunately. Let's try and see if I can get it a bit bigger so you can see it. Yeah, that's it. Is it going to refocus? I don't think it is. That's the trouble. Trying to see if it'll refocus. It probably won't. That was like a graveyard and a gravestone. The next one is my next door neighbour. And actually that came out... Do excuse me, it's a bit out of focus. It's the camera here isn't refocusing very well. That is one of my next door neighbours. Actually, that actually came out quite well. This one is of me pulling a funny face. Because I'd been out of focus because it was taken indoors with no flash. That's another kick-ass picture of the graveyard. And I go in there because it's next door to me. The church is next door. That's my amateur radio gear. As you can see, they're not particularly sharp. Some of these were taken in low light and no tripod. That's another one of my radio. These I won't show those because they were taken with no flash indoors and they're too small. So really that's my garden. So I got about I reckon I got half a dozen out of 16 that are really usable. And there are some others, but and that's a glass I took in my garden. A glass that I got. That didn't come out too bad. I reckon about some of my neighbours I took pictures of. There was about 10 pictures out of them all that came out. There was quite a high failure rate, unlike the Fuggy, due to the spunky quality of the film. This is used as Impossible film, and I'm not being disrespectful. They stopped making this now and they're doing the Polaroid original. And this isn't particularly good. It's pretty shit, really. But there were some good results, but what you had to do is you had to put the slider on dark and just burn in a bit more, keep them in good light, and really burn it in, really. Usually 2/3 of an f-stop, which means that slider is on the that black arrow, usually works about the best. And it's just the way it is with that. And but the actual camera's fine. And I've also got another one of those. I've got one that's called a 3000. Doesn't have a flash, but a lot better camera. And that, believe it or not, has a triplet lens, and it's got a coating on the lenses. So that one's obviously going to do a lot better contrast and a lot better pictures than this particular one. But this one's still a nice little camera. I think the fault isn't with the camera. I think it's just that the film isn't particularly good. But I needed something to try it on, and the original Polaroid originals were £3 more a pack. So I thought I'll buy a couple of packs of these and see if it works. What I should have done is just bought one pack and then spent more time. Word of warning, it's quite easy to go and get a lot of film like I did and just go out and take them. That may not necessarily be a good idea. Do read the manual. Do watch videos on how people overcome various problems with the old analog instant cameras. Otherwise you'll do what I did, go out and take a load of pictures and think, oh, they're not very good. And then you read the manual and you suddenly find you've been doing it all wrong. And I should have been adding more darkness to a black and white, because black and white isn't as sensitive as the colour. Even though it says 600, it's not as sensitive as the colour. And so if I would have turned it to dark and then took it in better light, I would have got a lot better contrast between light and dark. What you want to do is get your camera and that arrow, slide that thing into the middle of the arrow so it's not on the darkest but on the middle of that arrow, and that's about 2/3 of an f-stop. That thing is only one f-stop either side. That's what I do with the Fuji. I shoot at it 2/3 of an f-stop towards making it darker, and that really does actually help it. So if you look at that slider here, slide it all the way over to dark and then back off so the slider is in the middle of the arrow, and if you measure that with your ruler, it's roughly 2/3. That will give you good black and white shots. The shutter will be slower. Use a tripod if you got one, or even a monopod. It's better than bloody nothing. Monopods are better in a way because they're not so heavy to carry with you. So would I recommend buying a used Polaroid camera? And the answer to that is it depends. Hang on. It depends what you want. If you want absolute perfection and really sharp pictures, I wouldn't go for one of these. If you want something really, really clear and really not too over the top, is to go for the Fuji SQ10. Even though the camera's £200 and the prints are slightly smaller, it really, really, really is night and day. This is a picture I took with the SQ10 in the garden, a close-up. Now I'm going to come onto this close-up and show you. This is of a pot lid, and it may be a bit blurry because this camera doesn't refocus for some reason once you press the shutter button. But that is a pot lid in the garden I had, and it looks like a bell. And I've also taken it an angle as well, so that it looks a bit more interesting, which is that one. And I've been dishing them out to the handbell group because I play in the handbell group, and it reminded me of a bell, and I've added quite a lot of contrast in it afterwards, and it really is very, very nice indeed, even though the pictures are smaller, because they're so much clearer. It doesn't matter, you're seeing more anyway. So my suggestion, if you can afford to buy a new instant camera, go for the Fuji Film SQ10. That's £220, 208 I think I paid for mine. If you can't afford that and you just want to mess around and do a couple of instant and you want a more vintage look and you don't mind the duds, you'll pay for the duds. You'll pay £2 for the duds as well as the good ones, where these are only £1 each, and you get 10 in the pack rather than 8. And my view is, yes, if you want to collect cameras and you want to shoot Polaroid, get a good used box one known to work. But if you want a bit more control and less duds, then go for the SQ10. There's a new camera on the block now, and that's the Polaroid 1 Step 2. It's a brand new Polaroid. It's coming out in the next few days, I think. That's got a coated lens. That may be worth a go. But on my view, the best probably Polaroid camera is the SX70. That's a very good camera. And also the Polaroid Land Camera 3000. That is a rangefinder camera. It takes SX70 film, and it's got a triplet element coated lens that will take very sharp pictures, much sharper than one of these. So my suggestion, try to get a Polaroid 3000 if you can. There's no flash, you'll have to buy a flash for it, and the SX70 flash will fit. So my suggestion, if you want a camera for taking pictures indoors and you need a flash, get this business model. If you want a camera just to run outside, go out and get the Polaroid Land 3000. It's also known as the Pronto AF. That's the two to get. And there's no reason why you shouldn't buy one of these, but don't expect results as good as the Fuji SQ, because it's a different ball game. Is it worth buying that and wasting a bit of money on dud pictures? Well, if you're middle class and got lots of money, and or you're crazy like me, then maybe that's a good thing. But my personal view is that I'm going to try the 3000, and if the 3000 takes better pictures, I'm going to sell that one with a pack of film and just keep the 3000 and get a flash. But I'm still in the middle of testing this. I've got another pack to run through it. Now I've read the manual and how to use it, what I'm going to do is have another go and see if I can take better pictures, because I took quite a lot of duffers, and I think this is due to me not reading the camera manual, not listening to what people are saying on the internet, going out and taking pictures on impulse rather than researching it first. So I've shown you a couple of good pictures, quite a lot of dud pictures. That's because I didn't do it properly. So would I recommend buying a used Polaroid 600? Well, yes, but it will be quite a mixed bag. My suggestion to you is to buy an SX70 if you can get one. If you can't get one of those, get the Polaroid Land 3000. That will have a coated triplet lens, and it will give you better results than this meniscus single lens one, even though that would be probably okay with a colour film in it, which is what it was made for. But I didn't think it was particularly good at monochrome. But I would imagine the triplet lens one would be a lot better. But get one of these and get yourself a 3000 as well. Get yourself a couple of these. They're cheap. Get a couple, and they're interesting, and you can play with them, or you can just look at them, and they do look rather nice. So they make nice ornaments. They also work as well, but don't expect as good as the modern Fuji cameras, because as far as their instant cameras are concerned, I don't think anyone's going to beat those. May do, but I think they're the best now, and they're also reasonably priced in comparison to these. So my suggestion is try them out. If you've got a bit of spare money, buy the new Polaroid 1 Step 2. They come in white or grey, and try it. It might work for you, it may not. You can always put it on eBay and sell it if you don't like it, and just say you run a pack of film through it, and it wasn't quite your scene. What will happen with this one, I expect, is I'll sell it with a pack of film. If I find the SX70 type camera I'm getting is better, then I'll keep it. But I might actually keep the two. I haven't really made my mind up yet. But anyway, goodbye, and enjoy the video and my first attempt, mixed attempt, on the Polaroid 600 Business Edition. Comes boxed with its manuals, and it came from a really nice camera shop. I think it's called SE Cameras in Manchester. Very, very nice people, and it was very nicely packed. It was delivered first class, and I would recommend them. So if you want to buy a vintage camera, go and see these people at SE Cameras, it's called. Sierra Echo Cameras. I'm sure they'll sell you a good one, and they seem to be very nice people, and I would recommend them.